This is a clip from a live carnivore doctor meeting in our Go Carnivore community where we help you reduce inflammation and lose weight with a carnivore diet. You can join us at gocarnivore.com. So, in today's meeting, that's what I'd like to talk about, which is high fat carnivore. So, the first part is going to be discussing carnivore and high fat carnivore and how you can actually do it to get results. The second part is when I want to talk about cholesterol, because I think that is another topic that people are interested in when it comes to carnivore, which is what happens to your cholesterol when you eat more fat, especially when you do a carnivore diet. And then we can answer your questions. Now, I want to talk about high fat carnivore. So, what this means is that you're eating more fat. That doesn't mean that you're eating butter and tallow and lard and ghee. It just means that your percentage of calories, your macros coming from fat is a little bit higher. As I said, you don't have to add lots of extra fat. You can just add meat. And I have a ribeye here. So, as I said, a high fat carnivore is about 70 to 80% of calories coming from fat. So, when you look at the picture of a ribeye, that is 70% fat. So, if you eat a ribeye, just meat, you are doing high fat carnivore. So, when it comes to high fat carnivore, it comes down to what meats you are choosing, what foods you are choosing over other foods. Doesn't mean that you have to add lots of extra fat. So, for example, I showed you the ribeye steak. Here are other examples of foods that you can eat to do a higher fat approach. So, ribeye steak, short ribs, higher fat, about 70%. Lamb chops are great. Fatty ground beef. So, if you can get the 80-20 ground beef or 70-30 ground beef, that is fantastic. It could be grass-fed, it could be grain-fed, especially if you want to heal inflammation. Grass-fed seems to be a little bit better because your body can actually absorb the nutrients in the meat. Pork belly, very high in fat. I think it has about 80 to 90% fat. Bone marrow. So whether that comes from any animal, bone marrow is fantastic. Now, I'll put whole eggs here. Now, that is if it's tolerated, because as we see on carnivore, some people tolerate whole eggs and some people don't tolerate whole eggs. So if you can tolerate it, I would incorporate eggs and bacon. We all love bacon, but bacon can also be a really good option, more as a side, not as a whole meal to add to your plate. But as you can see here, these foods are coming from four-legged animals. So we're not having things like chicken, although chicken is not bad, but we're trying to get the most nutrient-dense foods, which generally come from ruminant meats or four-legged animals. And so beef and lamb is going to be your best options. So when it comes to high-fat carnivore, let's say after you've done 90 days of just carnivore, eating meat, seafood, and eggs, and dairy and butter, why would you want to try to increase your fat? The benefits are really about ketosis. So you want to try to induce a more state of ketosis to help with healing and deeper fat adaptation. So what that means is ketosis is going to help with hormones. Okay. Ketosis is going to help your thyroid because your thyroid runs off fat. All glands in the body, whether it's the liver, the pancreas, the thyroid, runs off fat. So you need fat and perhaps to be in a state of ketosis, that's going to help with your thyroid. So mental health conditions, something that we don't speak about very often, but if you have things like bipolar, if you have things like severe depression, if you wake up every day and you don't have high energy, you're not excited, you're not enthusiastic about life. These are all types, and those things, if they last for more than 6 to 12 months, something that's not a normal way of living for you, that is a type of mental health condition that can really benefit by being in a state of ketosis. So brain disease, as I mentioned, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, these are all diseases of the brain. They don't originate in the brain. However, we can actually help uh, prevent brain disease and also, in some cases, reverse brain disease with a higher fat protocol. And that is because of the ketosis state. Autoimmune condition. So we know Doug here has an autoimmune condition. So a high fat approach inducing ketosis can help with autoimmune conditions. Appetite regulation. Some people, they can't feel full on carnivore. But when you try to increase the fat, then that can actually help make you feel fuller for longer. And that's got to do with your leptin cues and your ghrelin cues, which are some hormones that control whether you're hungry or whether you're full. And also, quite interestingly, if you have resistant high blood sugar, so that means that you're doing carnivore for a long period of time and your blood sugar is still quite elevated, but you don't know why, everything else looks okay. This is where you might want to do a higher fat approach to carnivore that can actually help to reduce your blood sugar. And also with cravings. So if you're still doing carnivore and you still find that I have cravings for sugar, I have cravings for other things, by doing a higher fat approach, that is going to help with cravings. Okay, now this is quite interesting. So as I mentioned, when you do a high fat carnivore diet, you're wanting to eat more fattier cuts of meat rather than adding sticks of butter. So I want to talk about what happens when you add lots of extra fat, like a stick of butter, what might happen, which is probably what you might see. To watch the full live meeting plus the Q&A, just head to gocarnivore.com. You can also try our customized meal planner, join our monthly carnivore challenges with our carnivore coaches, and also make friends with like-minded carnivores all wanting optimal health.